All right, Sky Squad, we are back in the building. And y'all, what is it about Ashley and Stacey? I thought that after the reunion, they might be on a good path, but y'all know Ashley did the event with the reality rundown, and she had quite a few things to say about Stacey. So let's just take a listen.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with impossible with a capital I. Yes, indeed. What is some snake bread?
Okay, so basically what you hear there is her saying that Stacey is impossible with stank breath. You know, it's something about the stank breath comment that just, I don't know why I feel like it just sort of declasses the show, the read. Because here's the thing about the stank breath, we can't prove that to be true, right? So we can only go on what they're saying. And it just, even if her breath is stank, it just seems so low. You know, it just seems so low. I don't know. Let's talk about something else, okay? Let's talk about something else because there's more to talk about. I already know these shows will have your blood pressure rising, okay? Rising. But for me, I feel like myself personally, my numbers have been a little bit more elevated than normal. Now, granted, there's a lot happening in the world right now. There is a lot happening. But I also wonder, like, is this something that I'm eating? And that, it kind of scares me because y'all know a lot of us suffer from high blood pressure, high cholesterol. So I really wanted to do something about it. So I looked up this company and they're called Nourish. And y'all, it was like a therapy session. It's a digital telehealth platform and it connects people like me and you to registered dietitians. So I filled out a quick form. It was all tailored to me and it suggested several credentialed practitioners that I could set up an appointment with. Now, the best part about this was that they had insurance covered options, which was a relief. And I also felt super safe in my session. Like I felt comfortable enough to be real about my family history, about my diet currently, and my exercise currently. Okay. And I could use a little work on that. I will admit. All right. Y'all know I like to work out, but I also like to eat. So if you're somebody who also suffers from like any chronic diseases like diabetes, or maybe you need some support managing your weight or GLP-1 medications, or you maybe just want to improve your eating habits, I will highly recommend Nourish. Their ultimate goal, which I also love, is to make nutrition care accessible. And I really have to thank them for sponsoring today's video. So click the link in the description and see how Nourish can help you. Do not be afraid to take charge of your healthcare journey because a lot of times I feel like diet and healthcare, I mean, it really starts with us. All right, so let's get back to the tea. Our girl Taria from the What Else Is Going On podcast was literally boots on the ground yesterday for the trial updates for Wendy and Eddie Acefo. So I'm going to give you some of the highlights. So Wendy and Eddie will no longer be tried together. Eddie waived his rights to a speedy trial, being tried within 180 days of being charged, right? There was extensive discovery, and he wants to take a deeper dive per the prosecution. But Wendy, on the other hand, Wendy wants a trial seemingly immediately. She did not waive her right to a speedy trial. The defense and prosecution were looking for dates in March. However, there were none and available for a jury trial. So this makes Taria wonder if this was a setup for Eddie to take the fall. So let's stop there. I think a lot of us wondered if this would be the route that they would go in general. And I don't know. I don't know exactly what made this pop up initially, but there have been people who have been assuming that he would be the person that sort of took the fall for this so that, Wendy being the mom could continue on and also continue to, show up on the show, perhaps so that they can continue to make income so that, she could raise the kids. I don't know. I don't know. A lot of you guys have said that in the comments, though. A lot of you guys. Okay, so Taria goes on to state Wendy, she will not be able to have a trial as quickly as she wanted. The original trial date for her would have been April 15th, 2026. Due to the trial schedule, it will unfortunately have to be pushed out until May. She was willing to go to trial before her status conferences. They are estimating that Wendy's trial and Eddie's trial will each run 4 days, with 1 day for defense. Again, that is the current estimate. And so let's talk about the scheduling of that. When we look at the scheduling of this, I would assume that Potomac is going to be starting filming in April. So it would probably be reasonable to assume that she would have wanted to have these things settled before then. And so I would understand at that point why you would want to have this done as early as March, possibly to sort of figure out what's going to happen if one parent needs to be away. How would that look? And then one parent could be with the kids for as long as possible while the other parent may go away. I don't know how that would work for the long run, but what I do know is that it looks like, by my estimations, from what I'm understanding, filming could commence as early as April. That would be right on schedule for when I would also estimate that it would give them 4 months of filming time, which is what you typically need for one of these shows. And that gives April, May, June, July, August for Atlanta to premiere, air, film their reunion, and air their reunions so that Potomac could potentially come back in October as per the schedule for the previous 2 seasons. And again, they like to scatter Potomac and Atlanta, which makes sense so that you can have that Sunday time slot, which has typically worked for the African American housewife shows. So we'll see how this pans out, and we'll see what that means for Wendy going into the new season and how they will film her, if they will film her. Like, what will that look like? They were filming Jen Shaw while she was still in that process too. So I wouldn't be shocked if they did the same here. Speaking of Atlanta, let's talk about that because Andy has done some interviews. Well, not really interviews. He has the radio show. So on Radio Andy, this was yesterday, he was teasing the upcoming season of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 17, which premieres on April 5th on Bravo. So he says that this is the cast that we have been waiting for. He says, "Are you familiar with K Michelle?" This is what he's asking to his co-host John Hill. Okay. And apparently, Andy says, "I've never seen one frame of Love and Hip Hop. Now, once we started filming and I was reading the hot sheets from Atlanta, I DM'd K Michelle to say, 'You're so great. I'm so glad you're on the team.'" And then he goes on to praise her in the confessional chair and whatnot, which we knew she would be good at. And for those of you guys who may be wondering what the hot sheets are, those are sometimes people refer to those as like the daily notes or the notes that the producers are sending back in from the field, from when they're recording and they're getting footage. They have to have, typically producers will have a binder of notes from things that have happened during the filming so that they can also refer back to those notes when they are asking the women questions in confessionals. And they also want to be able to send executives those notes as well to update like the progress on what's happening as filming is occurring. But what Andy reveals here is that he went on to social media and he found an unread DM from her from 2023. This is from K Michelle. And he says that that message stated that K Michelle said back then, "I need a peach. This is the show that I belong on." And so Andy says, "Somehow I missed this. Oh my God." His co-host says she's a superstar. And then Andy goes on to talk about Pinky Cole, the founder of Slutty Vegan. He goes on to talk about, and what this is what I loved, right? This is what I loved. he makes the connections of how these women fit onto the show at this point. So evidently, K Michelle and Pinky Cole are already friends. Phaedra has known Pinky for what, over a decade. Pinky and Shamia are good friends. Portia and K Michelle are pals, and K Michelle and Pinky go way back. So he says it's a real group. He was like, when I tell you I was cackling at the premiere, he says I watched the cuts and we give notes and there was work to be done, but I was like, wow, this is super promising. So he's like, I'm 5 episodes into Atlanta and it is a delight. Okay. So listen, it is, of course, Andy's job to speak highly of these shows, right? This is what anybody would do. Any good uh, producer, executive producer, if you got a radio show, you're gonna want to hype the new season of a show. It makes sense. This is what he does typically. I can't recall a show where he was like, it was lackluster. It's lackluster. Who's gonna say that? Because you got to sell that show. So, but I do think it is interesting because I have seen some comments about people saying that this just seems like a cast of women that have just been put together. And what I love is hearing that there are real connections there. That's what makes this feel like a show that you want to watch and you want to root for the people involved. So I'm excited. I'm excited. But yeah, man, K Michelle, I gotta hand it to you, Kate. Like for real, this is how you speak something into existence. Y'all, if you've ever thought about something that you've wanted to do and you've had it in the back of your mind, like just go for it because you can literally speak things into existence. So if you take anything from that, then take that away from this video. With that being said, y'all, make sure you keep it locked to the channel. Stay subscribed. You never know what we're going to be doing on this channel. All right. And I will catch you in the next video.